Receivers at 180 pounds.
The parade didn't even know there was a game going on. This is Greg Lewis. He's out in the open. Does he have the speed?
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Be Honest. The fellas is together again. We got some serious topics we're going to discuss today. Probably be a little arguing, a little fighting, but at the end of the day, we all have different opinions and perspectives, but we all going to be honest. We all going to keep it 100. So that's what we're here to do. Let me reintroduce some of my best friends in this world. Big Don Jones, outside linebacker for the Huskies. Chuck Mincy, we call him Ice, cornerback, real sticky D, and the coach who brings it all together, Troy Russell, joined with your boy, Greg Lewis, your favorite Husky running back of all time. So fellas, let's go ahead and jump right into it. And let's be honest.
Here to the WNBA, there's been a big controversy surrounding one of their stars, Liz Cambridge. She had a situation last week where she felt she was being body shamed by a coach who was subsequently suspended and fined. What do you guys think about that? Chuck, man, tell me what your thoughts on that is.
Man, I thought it was completely ridiculous. And I know some people may differ, but I think some of the issues coming along now is that we just got hypersensitivity. She's what is she, 6'8", 235 or something of that nature?
Exactly.
And I guess he was complaining about her using her size against another smaller opponent, another girl on his team, and he said, come on, she's 300 pounds. If that were a guy, nobody would have said anything. If you say that about Shaq, nobody says anything. Even if you say, hey, he's 400 pounds, and it's an exaggeration. It's basically you're just saying that he's too big for everybody else, and he's bullying everybody else. If you want to be treated equally, if you want to be looked at the same, you got to stop with the hypersensitivity, and then to come with verbiage of, you're body shaming. That's not, we don't body shame in the NBA. We don't body shame when we talk about how big a dude is when they weigh everybody before every UFC or boxing match. So if you don't make the weight, is that body shaming? You just come with the, with the real. If you want to be taken seriously for what you do, you can't be hypersensitive. You can't act like a girl. That's just the way it is. And I don't care how that sounds. It's just the way it is. Acting like a girl. That's no, but if you want to be, but okay, then play girls basketball then. Then play a different version of girls basketball. They want the rim to be the same size. They want to be taken seriously. Then play girls basketball after school somewhere. It's professional basketball. It's not a punk league. It's girls in there that can really play. If you want to be taken seriously, then you got to be on the same page. You ain't playing at the rec league after school. If you, whatever it is, and yeah, he exaggerated, but so what? Just suck it up, man. It's ridiculous.
Well, I'll say this.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, it's the same but different, and I'm okay with saying that. You know, I coached girls basketball for about 20 plus years, and it's the same but different. I remember I was coaching a team.
So were the Olympic weight rooms too.
Yeah.
So were the NCAA weight rooms.
No, they were completely different. They weren't the same in any way, shape, or form. So the same would be you have all the same.
They were both indoors.
They just got different designs or something on them. That's the same but different. Here's all I'm saying, Chuck, is I remember when I used to coach my youngest daughter's basketball team, and they were in the 4th grade, and we scrimmaged against the 3rd grade boys. It was an elite 3rd grade boys team, but we were the top girls team around, and we used to beat them boys down in the 4th grade. Then the next year in the 5th grade, we still beat them pretty good. When we were in the 5th, they were in the 4th. Then when we're in the 6th and they were in the 5th, we squeaked by. We played them boys when we were in the 8th grade and they were in the 7th. And after about 3 minutes, they was up by 40 points. I told the coach, all right, we've had enough, because it's different. We were both playing basketball and we came up in the same organization, and the game is the same, but there's a difference between men and women as it relates to the physical stature. So yes, there's a difference there. But I think because they are women, and that was a scenario where he's commenting on her size, especially there's some other connotations when you talk about a white male commenting on a black female's body. I mean, there's some connotations there. Well, I think because black women have in this country been sexualized, they've been, marginalized.
What does that have to do with basketball? That has nothing to do with basketball. If you're in the paint, throwing your weight around.
Part of the problem is I think there should be women coaches in the women's game. And I don't think there should be men there commenting on women's physical size and stature and all that kind of. I'm of the belief that women should be coaching women's basketball, so that there's women role models. There's women that are involved in being sensitive to what the needs are of those females, so that they can grow, mature and all those things, whether it's high school, college, and into the professional ranks. I think there's enough men's job. Men should, stay over the men's game. And if you're not a fan of women's basketball, I don't have a problem with you saying that and not watching it. I'm not saying everybody needs to watch women's basketball or be a fan of it. If you're not a fan, don't watch it. That's
so should women coach men's basketball? Should women coach? It's women football coaches.
So tell me how many women there are coaching men's head coaches there are in women's in the NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball. How many women head coaches are? Zero. Absolutely.
So, but I'm saying, is it possible?
So to me, that certainly shouldn't be the scenario as far as it relates to the women's sports. I think women should be the role models for other women, young girls, especially when you're talking about high school and college. So those are the things that make it different. It's the same, but it's different.
You putting people in a picture frame that they can't get out of, and then they want to get out of it. You can't have it both ways. Either you want to be treated equally, do not want to be treated equally. Size in sports matters. So if you're in the paint, throwing around all 235 of you, and here's the thing, you said it yourself, like she's an attractive girl. So it's not like it's not like it's body shame.
I said that off camera. Don't be bringing stuff I said off camera.
Hey man, look.
My wife might be watching the show. What's wrong with you, bro?
Hey man, look, you done said worse. You said worse on camera already, so let's not even get with that. But look, the whole thing is, it's not an issue of if it's good or bad or shame. It is what it is. You're a big girl. You 6'8". Like, do you think you was gonna be 115-pound supermodel? That ain't happening. You a WNBA professional basketball player. You're professional. Size is an advantage for you. If you're bigger and stronger than the other people you're on the court with, it's an advantage. Saying that for him, you're reading into what's on his mind, and all you're doing is you're placing your sensitivity on that man. That ain't fair. That's just not fair.
Well, I think part of what I was saying though is there are some differences between men and women, and we have to look at it as such. Now, what I don't necessarily believe is I think there's a sensitivity all around in everything, not just in sports. Nowadays, if you say the wrong thing about somebody in the wrong scenario, you know, you're getting canceled. You're losing your show. You're losing your livelihood. I think there's certain circumstances where that should definitely happen, but I think we've gotten hyper sensitive about it. So to that point, Chuck, maybe you're right. Maybe I can think a little bit differently about this. Maybe you slightly changed my mind. But you know, like I said, being a person who's coached girls basketball and has daughters and have seen so many things said by men about women that are athletes and on the court that just ain't right, you know, I might have a hypersensitivity to it. So be it.
Don, you got any thoughts on this?
Oh yeah. Well, I take the opposite thought from what Chuck was saying. You know, all the women used to have, I can't believe, you know, that's one thing you can't do is talk about a woman's weight. Come on, man. You know, you can't talk about a woman's, and I appreciate.
There's a whole bunch of snitching going on in this show today.
Snitching going on.
but I'm just saying, but my point is, I appreciate her being feminine, you know, not wanting to be, you know, not, and that's, I want to let a woman be a woman, but she can still be a great player, great athlete. She can be tough, she can be nasty, but still, I appreciate it when she want to keep her feminine side and not be
what?
About
she
like
can be
man.
tough and she can be nasty, but you appreciate it.
On the court, Chuck. Okay, let me give you an example, Chuck, real quick here. Let me just say
but even on the court, you're saying something that's it's going both ways. You can't be, I'm on the court, I'm elbows up when I'm on the court, but hey, don't say nothing about me throwing my elbows because I got huge elbows. What? You can't have it both ways. Either you a beast on the court. I can understand if she was in the supermarket. He was like, come on, we're standing behind this girl in the supermarket line. She's 400 pounds. I can understand if she was at the supermarket, but she in the middle of the lane throwing her weight around. Of course she could comment on it.
Well, put it this way then. Put it this way then, Chuck. You kind of went in this argument to a degree for the first time in the history, to be honest. But I'm gonna say this. I was laughing when she came back at it. Was talking about, look, you wee little man, and she came back at him real hard. So I found that part real entertaining and funny. The fact that she came back at him and kind of made him feel bad, you know, by putting him down and calling him a wee little man, because standing next to her, he was a wee little dude.
Right. So, but she's not body shaming though. She's not body shaming.
Clap backs are allowed. Clapping back is always allowed.
Yeah, you know, as long as you allow.
You're not turning the other cheek no more. You throw a punch, I'm coming with a right hook too.
Well, she should have did that, but she didn't do that. She ran to her league and tried to and got the dude fined and suspended. She should
didn't do that. No, she commented on her Twitter, on her social media.
Same
and they
difference.
Saw it,
same difference.
And then they fined.
And she used incendiary language. Oh, you're not gonna body shame, man. Blah, get the heezy out of here. If look, it is what it is. You're a big girl. You should be. You getting paid to be a big girl. You're blessed to be 6 feet 8 inches tall and 235 pounds.
Not 300.
Huh?
She's
not 300, but that's just an exaggeration because she's bigger than everybody. He rounded up. I mean,
it was kind of like he was. It was kind of like he was ranking on her. It was like he was ranking on her. You can't just rank on people like that. That ain't
man.
Right.
You can't rank on women like that, and that's
Right.
the point. Because
Right.
look at what's her name. Right. Okay, but here's my point. You want to be treated equal. When people say, you know what, I'd rather watch the WNBA if they lowered the rim. Them girls have them women have a complete fit. Oh, how are you gonna say that? We're all blah blah blah. Okay, so you want to be treated just like everybody else, you got to take the heat like everybody else. And if your size is a factor in the game, it can be commented on. If your weight is a factor in the game, it can be commented on. It's commented on. If you come in overweight and you got a UFC fight, guess what? You can't take the belt home, and you probably get fined for your prize money. So weight is an issue. Just deal with it. Like it may be exaggeration, but it is what it is. When Ngannou go out there and he 265 and somebody say, man, he looked like he 285, nobody's tripping. But if you say that about her,
they say he looks like a gorilla, which I heard some people say.
If he would have said that girl looks like a gorilla, then I would have been out there on the court ready to swing him at him. But that's not what he said, and that's why I feel it's different, because I feel like it's a part of the game.
Right.
Your size, your weight.
I think back to my earlier point, though, Chuck. African American females have just been sexualized and body shamed, and put in certain perspectives for a long, long time. And I think that's just the history of that plays into this, especially when it's a white male
I don't think
making the comment.
I don't.
He might not have, but
I don't think
I
don't think he should have been suspended. I just think that. But I do appreciate her. Not wanting to be described as a in that manner as well.
I think he should have just had to apologize. I agree. I don't think he should have been fined and suspended. I do think he should have apologized, because there's just a contextual history to a lot of this stuff.
Hey, because if you're taking up for your team and she down low throwing her weight around on some smaller girls, so I'm gonna apologize for defending the woman on my team.
Don't say 300.
Hey man, what else? He was talking to the ref. He was talking to the ref.
Just say ref.
So clapping at the ref ain't like some. You don't have that down to a science. You exaggerating. You like, look at this girl, man. She's huge. She's just bullying everybody. She 300 pounds. Like, I don't see that as being out of bounds. That's just, it's whatever. If you can't take it's competitive. It's fans. It's negative fans. When you go anywhere on the road, what are fans gonna do?
Yeah,
they're gonna talk about whatever
fans
makes
are different than a coach who represents the organization that you play. It's the fact that it came from a coach. I think that's more of a big deal, Chuck.
To the ref.
Yeah. But he was saying
where she could hear it. I think it's hypersensitivity, and it's just silly in my opinion. Like, if you don't want to be looked at in that way, you got to wear a tank top and tight shorts to play the game. If you don't want anybody commenting on your weight.
Views expressed by Charles Missy do not necessarily reflect those of To Be Honest. I gotta say that once a show for Chuck.
Hey, that's coming straight. Hey, I stand behind what I say.
Sure.
We ain't got no sponsors anyway, so until somebody breaking bread, I'm gonna say what the hell I want to say.
Man, let's switch gears to something that's happened today that I thought was extremely positive. HBCU, the NFL has decided to give the HBCUs their own combine starting in January, where they will invite guys from different colleges within the HBCU system to basically act as if they were sent to the regular combine, where they're going to do the interviews and the testing and all that stuff, just like a regular NFL combine. How do you guys think that came about? I know, Chuck, that you have some thoughts on who to thank for that. What do you think about that combine for the HBCUs?
I think it's a good thing, man. I think I think HBCU administrations, and I also think that some of the HBCU coaches owe Deion Sanders a big thank you for that. And I know that there are a lot of them that don't really care for him or Eddie George and their what's going on with getting them hired and bringing them to the HBCU platform. But I haven't watched this much HBCU football, and I don't know when, and I haven't seen it on TV as much as I have now, or had it even in conversation. So nobody was drafted before. They know that's a big miss, and I think you got Deion running his mouth to thank for that. Thankfully he goes to the microphone with his feelings and don't hold back.
Yeah. Don, what you thinking on the HBCUs?
Oh man, I love it. But I've been watching HBCU football for the past 5 years. I've been going down with my under the radar camera, capturing, the essence of those games, because I love it. But I think, but more importantly though, I think it's great that that Deion is bringing more attention. He's bringing millions of dollars into his university. and he's making, and making light of something that, they want to make it an even playing field, because one of the things that they lack is, schools lack is facilities. They lack the funding. They lack the money. And by all the media attention that is now going to, to these schools now, it's going to be giving more people opportunities. And I think it's great, because there's some great football and there's some great talent in those schools. I'm telling you, and it's a shame that not one player got drafted. That was a misstep. And I'm sure COVID had a lot to do with it, because you couldn't get to scout them as much this year, but that's no excuse, man. There's so much that not one player get drafted from HBCUs. That's a travesty to me.
Yeah, I can say I'm happy that they're having a combine. I'm of the opinion that whatever can be done to give more African Americans an opportunity in whatever industry area it is, this country owes us at least that. And that might be controversial just to say that. It reeks of reparations, which I ain't against. I'm gonna be honest with you, because if you look at the history of professional sports, they did a whole lot to keep us out of sports for a long time. We all can look at history and say this was the first African American ever allowed to play football or basketball or baseball. And so I think that anything that we can do at this point in juncture, even though there are many African Americans in playing professional sports, is a positive. It's something that should happen. So HBCUs have historically produced some great talent, going all the way back to the greatest football player to ever play the game, Jerry Rice, came from an HBCU. I think gives it a lot of credence to the talent that's there. And a lot of these kids end up at HBCUs for several systemic reasons that, we could have 10 shows about, why guys don't make it to a mainstream school. So I think, because those things exist, those barriers, those things that keep them from making at the University of Washington, at the UW, the fact that they had to go to an HBCU, which, let's be honest, this is to be honest, it's easier to get into some of those schools. And also those schools aren't getting the first, pick of the top draft picks. Some of them are, happening now with Dion going there, but these are guys who ran into some obstacles. And so the HBCU is the only opportunity for them to play college football. And now they're getting that opportunity, that shot to play at the highest levels. I think it's a great thing. So I'm always going to be for that. I hope that, some of these young men find their way into the NFL. And I hope this is something that they continue to do each and every year.
Awesome. Me too. I mean, I'm just glad to see everybody get those opportunities and finally give the HBCUs the opportunity to be on the equal playing field when it comes to guys getting those opportunities. Let's change subjects here a little bit. The NBA playoffs is going on. What do you guys think about that Lakers series going on right now with Phoenix? Been a really tough series going on. What do you guys think? I guess this is a better question. What series do you think is the toughest and most exciting series so far in the playoffs so far?
Man, it's all about the Laker gang as far as I'm concerned. So, man, I was just happy to see Anthony Davis, really be aggressive and get close to the basket, man. And, I know he was letting Drummond kind of, it was trying to space the court, and he was sitting by the 3-point line, and that was part of whatever they were doing offensively. And that just sucks. It sucks when Anthony Davis is far away from the basket and trying to get into the game by shooting threes and then working down low later on. Once he gets close to the basket, gets in the field, gets those short jump hooks over people, gets some rebounds, then the game is different for the Lakers, just all the time. And I don't know why Vogel hasn't seen that. That's like not a little bit of the time. That's all the time. Every time that happens, they usually have success. And it happened all last bubble, and they kept getting away from it. And it seems like they do it to appease Anthony Davis because he wants to shoot the three and he wants to stand outside. But that dude has to get down there and bang. And I think so many people just pointed it out that it just seemed obvious to him. So he made that effort, and that's what we got out of it.
Well, it's clear that the two most important players, you know, for the Lakers, and this is a dumb statement to make, are LeBron and AD. But the thing that is real is that there's only one LeBron. He brings the same IQ, ability, and effort to every game. Now, he may perform slightly better in some games than others, but LeBron James, every time he steps on the floor. There's two ADs. There's the passive AD who comes and doesn't play aggressive, who, like Chuck says, floating around outside. And I don't have a problem with him shooting threes from time to time, because that's an ability he has that is a mismatch, when he's on the floor. But he shouldn't turn into an outside jump shooter. He should work inside out and shoot that shot when there's time for it. But there's two Anthony Davises, and the one that we saw the first game, we'll see that guy again. I mean, it just is inevitable. 30% of the time that guy shows up. When the AD that we saw yesterday, and believe you me, I thought the AD that we saw yesterday, as dominant as he was, isn't even the best version of AD. He can do even more. And so I hold him to a high standard. And so sometimes these guys hear me being hypercritical of him, because the ability that he has and the things that he can do, that he only does maybe 60, 70% of the time, I think is a problem for the Lakers. And if Chris Paul hadn't gotten hurt, I think this series could really be extended out to 7 games, and the Lakers, have to really work to get a victory here. I think with Chris Paul, though, in his shoulder, and if that doesn't get better, obviously, the Lakers are probably going to run away with this and win in 5 or 6, being some easier games. So I think that kind of, is falling off because of that injury. But, AD is the reason why sometimes the Lakers look like the defending champs and are going to win it all, and sometimes they don't. As far as the best series to me, though, I think the Portland series is one that, really could end up going back and forth. Dame Lillard is a phenomenal player. CJ McCullough can fill it up, but they're, so guard oriented sometimes, that doesn't lead to them necessarily.
Nurkic got to play better.
Nurkic's got to be more consistent, because he can be, a really good player too, and have his way if and when he does, but they're so guard oriented. And they shoot, I remember Charles Barkley talking about them a couple of years ago. They shoot their way in and shoot their way out. And sometimes that's true, because Dame Lillard, is going to shoot those shots no matter if he's on or off. And he's never going to be the guy, I'm off today, so I'm going to stop shooting. It ain't going to happen. He'd be like, I'm off today, I'm going to keep shooting. And he may be off all the way until the end of the game. So I think that's probably one of the series right now going to be the most competitive.
Yeah. What's your thoughts, Don?
Wake me up when the Lakers in the finals against the Brooklyn Nets, man. This stuff, the Lakers is bored, man. Come on, I mean, they the world champs. They bored, man, and AD's gonna be there when you need him. He's not gonna come out there and be ultra aggressive every game, but he'll be there when you need him. And
I know that's my point.
Yeah, and because I give him a pass because he got us a chip. He got us a chip last year, so but again, there's no team in the West that could even compete with the Lakers. They're just too big, man. They're too big and too deep. They don't have. The West is deeper than the East, but as far as quality teams, but
I don't know, man, because you got 3 top quality. You got Milwaukee, Philly, and New Jersey. I'm just gonna call them New Jersey from now on, though.
Brooklyn in the house.
I'm saying, though, you got in the East, you got Milwaukee, New Jersey, and you have and Philly. I mean, those 3 teams, man.
That's what Chuck just said. Will you the pair now?
But
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm agreeing with him.
No, you said the West was way deeper, is what you just said.
I said no. What I'm trying to say is they deeper as far as quality teams, but the 3 best teams, the top heavy teams are in the East. They got.
So you're saying it's the Lakers, then it's
right
Brooklyn,
I'm trying to
Philly, and Milwaukee, and some
those
sort
are the 4 best teams in the league.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I don't
think-
know. I mean, Dallas might have something to say about that right now. What you guys think about what Dallas is doing to the Clippers right now?
And Dallas, like, ain't they like the 14th seed or something? Like they like
Dallas is the 5 seed.
They're the 5
Dallas
seed.
don't play no defense. They're playing against the Clippers, man. The Clippers are the chokers.
Yeah.
You know, wherever you want to be.
Really, Dallas is the 4th seed. They actually sabotaged the game as well to drop down to 5. That's just, kind of how they did it at the last game of the season. And Dallas started so far back at the beginning of the year that they had to climb in the second half of the season. They were one of the best teams in the NBA. And I think that's because Porzingis has been often injured. You guys remember just 4 or 5 years ago, he was in New York and they were calling him the unicorn. And he was the best player on the team with Carmelo Anthony there, who was still in his prime years. So he was projected to be a great player. And he shows that only in flashes now and when he's not hurt, because he's hurt a lot. The thing about Dallas that's looking good right now is Tim Hardaway Jr. is looking like Tim Hardaway Sr. This dude is playing like his daddy. I'm sure his daddy was in the crowd somewhere talking about, that's my boy.
Man, what's looking good about Dallas is Luka's out there looking like Larry Bird. That fool shooting
he better
3-point runners on him. I'll give you that one too. At this point, like Luka is playing a lot of right now.
I just remember the beginning of the year we were talking about this before we started doing the show, and people acknowledged that Luka was good, but they were saying, we overdoing it on how good Luka is. I just remember some of that conversation before the
recency bias
got started. But that dude is the real
real deal.
Matter of fact,
100%.
And I think some of these Eastern European players have come in and shifted the dynamic of just, what basketball outside of the United States looks like. Because for so many years, and yes, we're still the dominant, monopoly on basketball. We'll win the Olympics as long as we're still sending NBA players. But man, when you start looking at all the Icks, the Nurkics, the Jovics, and all of that are in the NBA, doing their thing right now, man, the Eastern Europe got some ballers. And this cat, Luka Doncic is the one. This guy is an NBA MVP at some point, maybe even more than once during his career. Because the dude, I think, is 22 years old?
Yeah,
man, 22. But I'm just saying, every Batman's got to have a Robin. And in these days, you got to have maybe a Robin and an Aquaman. And so, Tim Hardaway Jr. is really starting to, show that he's got some of his daddy in him.
Yeah.
And if Porzingis stays healthy and is a 7'2" guard, that creates some mismatch issues. I saw him dunk on somebody near the end of the game the other day in their win against the Clippers, and he looked like that unicorn that he was, projected and being called when he was with the New York Knicks.
Right into it. We want to talk a little football right away. We're going to talk a little bit about us or the Black athletes kind of taking control, and not just the Black athletes, but all of the athletes taking control of their situations, where they play and when they play. What do you guys think about the Julio Jones, Aaron Rodgers, guys like that, deciding that they want to decide where they want to play and if they're going to play? Greg, what do you think about that?
Well, I just think the old days of teams drafting you and controlling you forever are over. And free agency started a while back in just about every sport, and it's progressed now beyond guys becoming a free agent at a certain point to where superstars, let's keep it real, it ain't everybody, but superstars can control where they play. LeBron James, I believe, really opened the floodgates with the decision. And as much as people hate, that whole spectacle and all of that, I think for the players, it was a real door opener that says, hey, we can control where we go and when we go, and sometimes even how we go. You saw James Harden, how he got up out of Houston demanding in the middle of the season, even though he still had years left on his contract. And now you see Aaron Rodgers, saying something similar. He hasn't come all the way out and said he's not going to play, but we saw Deshaun Watson, say specifically, I'm not playing in Houston. I want out of here. And now you see this being more and more prevalent. I think it's good for the players to have that control. Some people may talk about loyalty. Fooey on that. There's no such thing as loyalty in pro sports. A team can cut you, trade you, do anything they want to with you when you're under contract. So those guys who are flexing and had the control, more power to them. But let's not, be mistaken. Like I said earlier, it ain't everybody. It's just the guys who got that cachet, who got that real power. I can't hate on them just because I was one of the little guys back in the day. If I was still playing, I still be like, hey, where y'all want me to go? But I'm glad that some of the players are getting that opportunity to decide their fate and their future.
Yeah. Now, Kurt Flood, way back in the day when the free agency, first started, the ability to switch teams and the ability to be able to live out your contract and decide where you want to play next. Chuck, man, what do you think about of this whole situation? Do you think it's good for the game or getting better for the game?
Yeah, I think it's good for the game. Some circumstances, I may not care for, depending on how it was. Depending on particular situations, as a fan, I can understand how some people can be frustrated. But when it comes to, let's take, Aaron Rodgers' situation, I just think that old school mentality of, the people that are in charge, different administrations and people like certain general managers, that stuff is old, man. No, you really can't run that with everybody now, especially when you have a dude like Aaron Rodgers who's dragging you to wins. Like, that dude is dragging the team to wins. Like, if he's not there, they're not doing it. And I've seen it because I've seen him do it to teams I've been rooting for. So, it's an old school mentality of kind of shut up and play football type thing. And I think for Aaron Rodgers, it's good because it's a power move. And it's good because I think in the court of public opinion, people are riding with him. There's been times when certain people have done it and it hasn't worked in their favor. It's kind of like shut up and dribble. But for him, he kind of has public opinion on his side. So he has more clout and a little bit more leverage.
So with that being said, Chuck, do you feel like the white athlete gets a little bit more of a pass on that? I know that Deshaun Watson was getting some heat that Aaron Rodgers don't seem to be getting. What do you think about that? When it comes to deciding that they want to switch teams.
Absolutely. I mean, it's obvious. It's proof is in the pudding. I think that what happens with somebody like Aaron Rodgers is that, he's beloved in Green Bay. He's been there for a long time. He's been there 16 years. He's done a lot. He's won the Super Bowl. I think just in the court of public opinion, though, people tend to relate to people that look like them. That's just the nature of it. And, I know our country is varied and there's different people all around this country, but there are some people that just do not relate to some of the athletes. And it looks like, oh, well, you come from these impoverished situations, you should be happy that you have a job anyway. And that's kind of more the mentality. But, you tend to relate by whatever means to somebody that seems to maybe come from your same background or, that you kind of relate to just because of the way that they look. And that is, I don't know if I even say it's sad. It's just a reality. So, yeah, I think, people tend to give him a pass with this, and I'm kind of glad.
Don, you feel the same way, or how you feel on that?
Well, every situation is different. Yeah, I think I always firm believer in judging each situation according to the circumstances. But Aaron Rodgers has been getting some heat. I saw a report.
He has. Okay, I haven't seen him getting heat.
Great. The Packer fans on his case. There are people that's going to be loyal no matter what to the team. But I think that's definitely true what Charles is saying in some scenarios. But I think in this scenario, I think it's different because Aaron Rodgers, who was white. I mean, in my opinion, the organization didn't show him any respect at all, really. I mean, here he is, a franchise player, a leader, the face of the franchise, the quarterback. Some people feel like it might be the best talented quarterback ever. And whenever they have not drafted a receiver since he's been there in the first round. They have not put weapons around him. and then they come one game from going to the Super Bowl, and they draft a guy that's going to replace him. You know, and he's that, and you know, these guys, it's about legacy with these guys now. He's messing with Aaron Rodgers like you messing with my legacy. You know, and he's drafting a quarterback, you know, and when we that close to the Super Bowl, they could have used a weapon against like you know, when they was against Tampa Bay last year in that playoff. So I think every situation is different, but in the Aaron Rodgers situation, man, I don't think I think what's going to happen now with all this, you know, this power transition going to the players, I think it's going to be put more pressure on the owners to have a culture that's conducive, you know, in which what people, you know, want to be a part of that organization. They want to have a good atmosphere, good culture. You can't treat guys like, you know, like second-class citizens no more. Like, I'm the boss, you do what I say. It's a truly a partnership now, and they gotta change their culture, and they gotta make people want to play for you and stay in your organization.
Greg, you want to get back in on that?
Well, I think Don makes some good points. This scenario might, if you compare it though again to Deshaun Watson, which I think Chuck made some references to. I think there's a lot of differences here because Deshaun Watson's only been with Houston a few number of years. He hasn't delivered a Super Bowl or anything yet. Not that that's his fault, but he hasn't paid his dues, I guess, to that organization, maybe in some people's sight. And that's why there might be a little more flack. And let's face it, this whole scandal around the massage stuff is another thing that's a mark on what's going on with him. Obviously, we have no idea yet whether any of that is true or accurate. It could be, you know, a money grab. It could be, you know, some truth to it. It could be all true. We don't know at this point. But that is impacting, you know, how people perceive and see him right now. And so, you know, that makes the situation a little bit different. I certainly think that if no charges are filed and there's only civil cases and, you know, he comes out innocent and all of that, and they prove that some of this is a money grab, that, you know, some people owe this dude not only a big apology, but there should be some recompense for it going that way, because truly the perception of who Deshaun Watson is has changed quite a bit. He really seemed like that dude, you know, that superstar athlete who, you know, did things the right way. And, you know, first you have I'm demanding to be out of here. And then you have all this accusation stuff coming up. So, you know, it might look a little different than Aaron Rodgers' situation. Aaron Rodgers is like, you know, and Don, you know, to your point, you know, about what they have and haven't drafted around him, he's still gotten a Super Bowl win. He's gotten to a couple AFC championships. And, you know, I'll throw this point out there. Tom Brady never had a receiver drafted in the first round either. I know there's other parts to a team. You know, there's the defense, the offensive line, and all of that. But right now,
Tom Brady got out of there too, didn't you?
Well, how long? I mean, he spent a long time there. And
Aaron Rodgers been there a long time too.
He won a whole lot of Super Bowls too. He didn't win one. He won about 6 before he got out of there. I'm just saying, you know, if Rodgers is saying my legacy and y'all messing with me winning Super Bowls, you know, Tom Brady won some Super Bowls without a first round wide receiver. I'm not saying everything's equal. I'm just saying that's not enough for me to go, well, he deserves to be out of there because of how they've drafted. I don't think, to me, that's the best you know, way to look at it. And he has a great wide receiver. Devontae ain't no joke. He's one of the best receivers in the game. He's got one of the best offensive lines in the game right now. They do need to shore up the defense a little bit, but it ain't bad either. So, you know,
I'm not saying they're not doing a good job of building the team, but the point is they were one game away from Super Bowl, and they spent a first round draft pick on a quarterback that's not going to even play. You know, and that hurt them last year. They could have used another weapon. You know, and I understand why. I mean, you know, why Aaron Rodgers is upset, but not only that, you know, for years he's trying to tell organizations some things that he wanted, and they excluded him. They said,
I think that's a bigger deal to me, that he hasn't had any input and any, you know, opportunity to give input as the marquee guy. But again, I was just, you know, throwing a little side piece in there, Don, about the whole draft and receivers and all that. I just don't think that's a big
that's just
part of
one
it.
point. I mean, that's just one point. I mean,
Right.
The bigger point is they drafting the quarterback when they that close to winning the Super Bowl, and they're gonna draft a guy that's not gonna even contribute. It's not in the first round,
I think a big part of it is in dealing with a lot of these people who are in the front office, is that a lot of that is you're dealing with people that come from a position of privilege. And it's a lot of, I've said it before, it's a lot of cronyism, a lot of nepotism in the NFL. You get people to get jobs handed down to them or handed across. And there is a mentality, or there has been a mentality of people in the front office in the NFL that they are in a position of control. They feel like there's a certain way that you deal with players. There's a certain relationship between players and organizations. And only the real elite guys in the past have been able to have any leverage whatsoever. And now you get more of those guys because of the incredible amounts of money that they're getting. Like, I mean, I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is hurting for money going forward. So, the dynamic has changed between the players and the front office. And before, this is just the way it was done. And you get people coming to positions where they're adopting that, or they're putting on that cloak of, I'm the general manager or I'm the president. It go how I say it go, and people hitting the brakes on them, and they not accustomed to that. And that relationship, man, is flip-flopped for a lot of these players. And like Greg said, it's not everybody. It's not the dude on the end of the bench, but those high-profile guys, man, they got a lot of leverage, man. And if he wants to just quit, he can do that. He go host Jeopardy. So he got options.
I do agree, though. I just throw this in there, Troy, because I think you sort of alluded in your first question about how this is impacted also by race. The more and more people that look like us start flexing that power and standing up and saying, I'm going to do it my way and how I want to do it, and I want, a say so. It's going to become a little more tedious, I think, or a little more strenuous in these situations as it starts looking like that. And that's what I think is happening in basketball. And I think a lot of people, basketball viewership is way, way down for several reasons. And some of them have a lot to do with race and how those race relations are playing out, and the power dynamic and the paradigm shift of power in professional basketball. I think that has a lot to do with it as well. So, it does play a part of this.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys think about the hypocrisy of loyalty, if you know what I mean by that? The players got to be, when it's the players, it's loyal. When it's the organizations, they don't have to be loyal. What do you guys think about, when people bring up the word loyalty when it comes to players and their teams? Don, I'll go to you with that one.
I think that's a broad question. I think like I said, every situation is different, and there are some organizations that, I think that are trying to be, trying to create that family type atmosphere, or the atmosphere where they want to welcome the opinions and thoughts of the players, and that's the kind of leader you got to be. And that's the kind of culture I think you got to develop. But as far as loyalty, man, it's like Greg was saying earlier, in professional sports, it's not too much of that, and you can't have to be. It's a business. Sometimes you're going to have to, make decisions that aren't popular, but it's best for the organization. And but I do think there are certain owners over the years that the players love to play for, and the owners that took care of the players. You can say what you want about Jerry Jones, but but he takes care of those players that play well for him. And they, and they love him. So I think every situation is different. I think you have to analyze each situation according to the certain circumstances.
Chuck, what do you think about that? The for me, what I mean by hypocrisy of loyalty, meaning that the players are expected to be loyal in the fans' eyes, but the organizations aren't. What do you think about that? In the fans' eyes, I'm talking.
Well, a good example is, being a coach and looking and really studying and trying to see what motivates people and what gets people going and how people respond to certain stimuli. That what Don just brought up is a good example, and saying that Jerry Jones takes care of his players. And Jerry Jones takes care of those high-end players, some of them. Like, they took care of Dak, and that's great. I appreciate them doing that. But I don't know if you'd go from him being the first guy on the roster to the 53rd, that they all going to have the same thought. A lot of those dudes that are greats, Dallas greats, they feel that way because, so there has to be other motivating factors. Money is one. You're only going to have so many guys on the team, so you can't promise situations. But what you can do is promise that you do the best for everybody going forward, and you're working with everybody's best interests. And trust is a big issue in the NFL, because if you're not honest with players, if you're deceitful, and I've seen a lot of that. I've seen guys be hurt and then they get them on film and cut them the next day, and that sends a message to that guy. So he's ruined, but it sends a message to the whole room, that, hey man, this team ain't loyal to you, and if they have the opportunity to take advantage of it, they will. And I think that, I'll be honest, man, in my experience when I was in Kansas City, I think that may have been one of the things that kept us from climbing that hill and going, making it to a Super Bowl or winning a Super Bowl. It's just that at the end of the day, how bad do you want it? You got to go through circumstances. It was cold in Kansas City. We practiced out in the cold, and we had a dome that we could have practiced in. It was cold. You had to be up there early. You banged up and you're hurt. You're away from home. Most people mentally, man, you got to really be in it. And if you're deciding, am I gonna go through all this to go the extra mile for what? For who? Is just like your Ricky Waters back in the day. Well, I'm gonna lay out and catch that pass in front of Savy. For what? For who? So you take all those things in consideration. And if you are loyal to a team, then maybe you take that extra, but you don't see a lot of that, man. And when you do see it, it's good. Someone like BA in Tampa, man, I think is a good example of, coach loyalty to make the players loyal too.
Yeah. Greg,
I just think as fans, you ought to stop using that word loyalty. And why aren't the players loyal to my team? You get caught up as a fan, I think, in thinking you own those players because they play in the city that you live in or the city you grew up rooting for. And that's nonsense because, again, those teams, when it comes down to a business decision, whoever's a better player, whoever has better health, whoever's going to make more money, whoever's going to make less money, all those things impact over just that guy and his personality. And, he's been here. That doesn't mean a hill of beans. So I think fans should stop, getting caught up in that whole, he should re-sign with my team, or he's under contract for 2 more years. He should, play for the amount that he signed for 2 years ago, regardless of whether he outplayed his contract or not. That goes out the window because the teams don't, hold that side of the bargain. So there's no way players should have to. And so the fan, being the third part in that, loyalty triangle, needs to understand that it doesn't exist. And so if it doesn't exist, you just got to roll with the punches like everybody else. If your favorite player decides I'm not playing in Houston anymore because we're not trying to win and they're rebuilding the wrong way, or I'm being treated a certain way and I want to get out of here, then that's what it is. And, be happy that you had him for a while and be ready to root on the next guy that comes and replaces him. That's just how it is. And that's how, to me, fans need to get that through their heads and understand that.
Mm-hmm. Fellas, man, I just want to get you guys' thoughts on this whole Kwame Brown going and the All the Smoke podcast guys, Matt Barnes going at it. Man, kind of what's you guys' feelings on Kwame Brown and Matt Barnes and the whole Charlamagne the God, the whole battle that's going on right now? What you guys think about that?
Well, I'll tell you what, when this whole thing first popped off, Kwame Brown came out because he had watched the All the Smoke podcast. They had Gilbert Arenas on there talking crap about him. They had Steven Jackson talking crap about him. It looked like Mike Barnes threw in some jokes. And then you had other people chiming in from outside of the All the Smoke, the Stephen A. Jacksons And Kwame Brown looked like he went and looked up anybody who said anything negative in the last 10 years and said, everybody's getting it today. And you know what?
So
I loved it. Because here's the thing, Kwame Brown, whether he ever lived up to being the #1 draft pick in the world, in the NBA or not, you know, this dude made it to the NBA. This guy played 13 years in the league, and this guy made $65 million. And from what he sounded like, he did a lot of good stuff, you know, with his money and supporting his family. I think, you know, the direction I take this is why people still talking about Kwame Brown. He's been out of the media. He's not in front of a camera trying to make a living doing anything like that. These dudes brought him up and then tried to disparage his whole career, character, and everything, which I thought was stupid. And Kwame Brown did what I would do. You know, the days of turning the other cheek and letting cats, you know, slide, man, that's over. I mean, I don't know if I've ever been that type anyway. You know, I'm not just letting you slide. And he let these dudes have it. He was calling, you know, Stephen A. Jackson, aired him out about, you know, paying for the boo. You know, if you got to pay for it, you know, there might be something wrong with your skill, your Mackin skills. He was calling
Becky
the other guy, Becky with the good hair, saying, man, that's why your teammate / coach took your wife and now your kids are calling him dad. I don't think he, you know, some people, oh, he went too far. Nah, not really. If you're going to come at somebody, this is me. If you come and throw rocks at my house, I'm going to come by and drop a boulder on yours. That's just how I get down. And Kwame Brown was dropping some boulders. And, you know, I'm glad he went at it like that. But here's one thing that, you know, some people say, well, we shouldn't have Black guys going after each other like this. To an extent, I agree. I don't think these guys should be on their podcast trying to make money about disparaging other brothers and all of that. But I know that's what they do. But once you come at a cat, you know, and you throw a rock at his house, you know, be ready to have a boulder dropped on yours. So from that standpoint, more power to Kwame Brown. And, you know, Charlemagne the God was bringing up personal stuff about his family, and he baked this dude about his indiscretions, you know, rape in his past and all that kind of stuff. And now Charlemagne want to apologize. He's only apologizing because this dude didn't put him on Front Street. I don't know, you know, and I'm glad he apologized, Charlemagne the God. He said he was wrong. He criticized himself. That's great. But I really believe he apologized because he was getting cooked. But apologizing was the right thing to do. So I don't want to take up all the time. I know you guys got stuff to say, but that's kind of where I'm at. What's that, Big Don?
Yeah,
I sent him a cease and desist letter like a few days before. But then after that, he apologized. You know,
cease and desist letter.
Yeah, he had a legal letter sent to him asking to cease and desist, talking about his let's just call it what it is, his rape charge in the past. That I don't know that if he was convicted.
You can't publicly call somebody a rape. You can get sued for libel for publicly calling somebody a rapist. So I think that was the issue. But I love it because one thing I hate is it just seemed like they was kind of bullying. Now Kwame is who Kwame Brown was. I wasn't sad to see him go when he left the Lakers, but you know, we're just piling on, man. I think too much of this generation piles on. Like, everybody just follows a popular thing. And then, man, like, you know, that old saying, go. You know, it ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. And that's kind of what ended up happening, man. He was letting go that buckshot and everybody was scattering, especially for like a group like, you know, the Breakfast Club, because they got this big audience so they could come at people. And especially people like that, they don't have an audience to come back. Well, now that you have YouTube and these different venues where you can get your opinion out, man, like it was perfect. So I love what he did. You know, I love All the Smoke podcasts. I think it's a good podcast. I like what they had to say. But sometimes, man, when people get together, they just pile on, and some people don't know how to go the opposite way and just kind of balance things up. So you get people getting, you know, basically bullied and drugged. He was getting drugged through the mud. Like, you know, he didn't have family that cared about him. Like he was a bad person, you know? And you can go from there, man. I like what he had to say about Michael Jordan. To me, the verdict still is out on that dude's character. So I like the whole thing. I was good with it.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
I'm just waiting for the Smush Parker video to come out. I'm waiting for him to come out, and start blasting everybody. He was talking about him.
The Smush Parker video.
But I love it, man. But you know what? I didn't know Kwame was that articulate, man. That dude got a gift of gab, man. He was all quiet, throughout his career. But he said it.
Mhm.
He said he was quiet for a reason. They paying me more money than he never thought he could get paid. So he kept his mouth shut. But then, 20 years later, he's had enough. And he turned to all the cheek, as far as I'm concerned. He turned to this way and that way and kept his mouth shut. Now it's time for him, to stick up for himself, man. And and like Greg was saying, man, and he's on Stephen A. Smith hard as well. I mean, Stephen A. Smith, they got video of him talking about him and making speeches at college. He's like, how are you gonna go put another black man down at a college? And mispronounce, and stuff like that. And hey, man,
He did his research.
Yeah, he did. But
I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go check all my social media, radio, podcasts, and everything I've done through my whole career. Make sure I ain't said nothing bad about Kwame Brown, because I don't want this brother getting on me, because he's relentless.
You don't want him.
Man, he'll get you.
He got one of them old man, way of talking, country boy, but he knows how to get. He got the gift of gab, man. I mean, he maybe a little bit too many curse words, maybe, but hey, man, I love the message, how he's able to portray his true feelings, and and he got all these little country sayings like "my mama's cooking," so I'm sprinkling some of my mama's cooking on it. I love the way I love his presentation. Put it that way.
Yeah. I think that I think one of the things that made everybody, kind of feel good about what he said is that he was authentic. He kind of accepted it, like, hey, I'm hurt. Like, I'm coming from a place where this ain't really, settled well with me. Like, it wasn't like a position of arrogance, like, oh, what y'all saying, just bouncing off. It's like, man, he basically saying this affected him and affected his mental health to a degree, and I think more people understand the platform of just being a bully, man, and being the cool kid. That just always bugs me, man. Like, and it's the same people, like the Breakfast Club type people, Charlemagne, Angela Yee, and whatever his name is, DJ Envy.
Yeah.
They always talk this stuff when it's politically correct and acceptable, but they're the same type of people that take those type of shots at people that are vulnerable. And not saying that we all haven't, to some degree, been critical of somebody's thing, but it becomes different when you make this man's name synonymous with being a bust. And I understand that, but it's almost like you're attacking his character. So
right.
Well, Charlemagne had no need to put that man's entire business about his family out in the street either. That's where he really went wrong.
He didn't even know that about his dad.
Yeah, he said he didn't even know some of that stuff. He said it was trauma that he had brought up. That was his first time him hearing about it, about a brother that he hadn't even met. So that I'm not sad to hear all that. I'm not sad that Kwame let off on those folks. I think that's okay.
They deserved it. Fellas, I guess what I want to say to everybody is make sure you guys have a safe Memorial Day weekend. Again, this has been To Be Honest. I hope you enjoyed our show today. Everybody have a fantastic weekend, and we out. For Charles Mincy, Greg Lewis, Don Jones. Peace.